It's hard to believe we're already coming up on the 2026 NASCAR season, and today I wanted to go over my predictions for what we are going to see, from who's going to stand out, who's going to surprise everybody, who might flop, as well as the champion, and some teams that I think might do really well and catch us off guard, and some teams that I think we expect to do well and maybe might not, ending up in a very good position following the 2026 season. A new format on the way as well, which we're going to discuss, and a lot to look forward to when what I think is going to be a really good year for NASCAR Cup Series racing. And I want to start off with my first prediction being that I personally believe this could be the best season of the next gen era so far. Reason being, we have made huge strides in the last year and a half or so when it comes to the short track package and as well the road course racing package. Now, what has the next gen done really well? Mile and a half racing. It's been absolutely phenomenal. But when it's come to short tracks and road courses, we started off, they were absolutely horrible. So when we do mile and a halves, they were absolutely phenomenal to watch, but it kind of struggled everywhere else. Now, in the last year, in 2025 specifically, Goodyear seemed to really get something good going with the tire and the fall off at the short tracks. Sometimes they've gone a little bit too far, like Bristol was a good example where they definitely went too far there, but I think that was something that needs to happen for us to get a better balance of what we actually need going forward. And I thought we had some really solid and promising short track races towards the last half of the season in 2025. And on top of that, we saw the Circuit of the Americas race early on in the season. That was an absolute banger with the tire wear, and that we really learned was the tire wear really right now is the key to making some really good races in these short tracks as well as those road courses. So I think if we continue to expand on that, which I think Goodyear will, I think we are in a position to have incredible mile and a half racing, which we've always had. But on top of that, I think we're now in a position where we're going to have better short track racing and better road course racing. And of course, let's not forget the increase in horsepower, although drivers have already talked about where they don't really think it's going to do very much. But no matter what, at the end of the day, more horsepower is always going to help, even if the difference is minor. So you include the tire wear with an increase of horsepower up to 750 on those select tracks. I think we are in shape for some of the greatest racing we've had in the next gen overall, instead of just focusing in on one track type. Now, super speedways, I personally don't really have any hope, to be honest. Super speedways of Daytona and Talladega, they are so mid to watch nowadays. I really don't enjoy those races anymore. But Atlanta, or Echo Park if you want to call it that race, every time we've gone there in the next gen car has been absolutely phenomenal. If only we could get that product at Talladega and Daytona, we would be feasting. I really hope the super speedways show up and put on some good racing, but I don't have any hope for those. But when you add two track types getting a lot better, I think we're in position for the greatest racing we've seen all around for the next gen so far. Now I want to move on to the driver I think is going to be the biggest surprise this season, and it's a driver I'm a fan of, and this is not out of bias, this is out of just genuine predictions, and that's Shane Van Gisbergen. Now, once NASCAR switched over to this chase format, Twitter was flooded with, well, Shane Van Gisbergen, like the whole experiment's over, he's screwed, he's got no chance. Did you know that he would have made the chase format last year by two points in his first full-time season, and that was the first 26 races before he really started figuring out the ovals. SVG in the playoffs last season in 2025 really stepped things up on the oval side of things, and he actually talked about just recently how the 88 team at the time, they actually kind of went in a bit of a different direction from the other Trackhouse cars, and it made the world a difference. And it seemed to be whatever they were messing around with, whatever they were trying differently, really worked for SVG's driving style, and we started seeing him run really competitive on the ovals. You think about New Hampshire had a top 5 day going until Brad Keselowski, he decided that a barrier was now part of the racetrack, drove through the wall and cleaned out SVG, which was really unfortunate there. But I mean, on top of that, you look at the mile and a halves later in the season, he was outrunning his teammate Ross Chastain, who's been racing on ovals for a couple decades compared to just 2 years of SVG. He's continuing to get better, and if he keeps on this trajectory, I see no reason to think that SVG won't make the chase, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people that have like this weird hate boner for him him for whatever reason, but I personally am excited to see what he can do, and I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong in this 2026 season. Obviously, we expect him to win some road course races, but I think he's really going to step up on the ovals like he was doing at the end of last season, and watch out for Shane Van Gisbergen. Is he a championship threat? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying, but I think he is going to comfortably make it into the chase. Now for my bad surprise, a driver that we always expect to do well that I think might end up having a bit of a rough year, and this is a really unfortunate one because there's another driver I'm a big fan of, and that is Denny Hamlin, and he's obviously gone through a lot in the last few months, from a lawsuit to, of course, losing his father, and the whole house fire situation. Of course, our thoughts are with the Denny Hamlin family still, and on top of that as well, the Phoenix finale of losing the championship in the way that he did was one of the most heartbreaking sports moments for me. Even being not only a Denny Hamlin fan, but I'm a fan of Kyle Larson as well, and watching Larson rip the championship away from Denny Hamlin was so hard to watch in those last couple of laps. And personally, at his age, of course, Denny Hamlin's quite a ways up there in his mid-40s at this point now. Usually drivers have fallen off by now. Even like Kevin Harvick in his later seasons kind of faded around that same age. So Denny Hamlin, you know that the fall off has to come at some point, and he's gone through so many challenges in the last just few months, that if he is able to come back from that and be super competitive, I'll be pleasantly surprised and really happy about that. But personally, I think Denny Hamlin, we unfortunately could be in for a rough season for him. I just personally look at the situation myself, and I don't know how I could mentally recover and get over those obstacles and come back at the same competitive level that I just was at the season before. Obviously, Denny Hamlin has proven over the years that he is, in my personal opinion, the most mentally strong driver on the grid. So although I think he's in for maybe a bad surprise of a season where I don't think he's going to win, and I think he'll make the chase, but I think it'll just kind of be one of those he gets into the chase and he doesn't really do very much, unfortunately. But like I said, I think he's the most mentally strong driver on the grid, so I hope I'm wrong, because he has proven time and time again that he is willing to do whatever it takes. And we literally even saw him in Phoenix last year, 2025, a driver in his mid-40s, and this is really difficult to do and almost unheard of in motorsport. He changed his entire driving style at Phoenix to make it work, to be the best driver there, and it worked. He was the best driver of anybody that day, and obviously, the way NASCAR goes in this era, you can be the best driver of the day, and more often than not, unfortunately, things are going to go against you. Stay tuned, by the way, for my Denny Hamlin video on the way in the future. Continuing on the trajectory of drivers, I have my first-time winner category this season, and I think there's going to be multiple first-time winners in this 2026 season. Number one, Ty Gibbs. Personally, not a huge fan of Ty Gibbs, but I think we are going to see him get to victory lane this season. Specifically, if I had to make one prediction of the track it's going to be, Bristol. I think it's going to be Bristol Motor Speedway. Even through his struggles of his first 3 seasons, he has, of course, shown up at Bristol time and time again and has been really competitive, was in really good shape in the last Bristol race until he choked it, and I think Ty Gibbs is going to be a serious threat to win some races this year. I don't think he's going to stop at Bristol. I think he could win maybe 2, even 3 races if he's able to get a win, maybe early on in the season at Bristol or something like that. Don't rule out Ty Gibbs. I think there's a big season for Ty Gibbs, of course. Now, when you look at future stars or drivers that were coming up in the back in like the 2010s, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, William Byron as well, it was usually their third full-time season where they really came into their own and started winning races and truly being competitive every week and actually considering them to be a threat come the playoffs at the time. And Ty Gibbs just got done his third full-time season with a driver that I personally thought was capable of winning 2-3 races as a Cup Series rookie. Obviously, it's gone in a completely different direction than we anticipated. He's gotten through that third full-time season and still really hasn't shown much outside of a few select races. So I think this is a big season for Ty Gibbs. He really needs to start winning, and he needs to start winning this year, and I personally do think we will see him get to victory lane. Next up, Connor Zilisch. I think this could go either way, but I do think he's going to win this season, and it's going to be on a road course specifically. I think although he has adapted unbelievably well to oval racing since he's jumped up into the Xfinity Series. Won many oval races, might I mention, of course, in the Xfinity Series when he was robbed of a championship in 2025, but he is absolutely going to be competitive on ovals. But I think the road course win is going to come before anything else, and he's going to have to go head-to-head against Shane Van Gisbergen, and I don't think Connor Zilisch is going to be even competing for the win in the first few road courses of the season. I think it's going to take him just a little bit of time as a rookie. Even with his road course expertise, he's still got to learn and adapt to that next-gen car, which he's only done one proper road course race in, of course, after he didn't get to do Watkins Glen because he ended up down there on the ground, unfortunately, on the Saturday before. But I think Connor Zilisch, come Chicago street course time, Watkins Glen, which is just, like the third and fourth road course of the season, Sonoma as well. I think Connor Zilisch, come those races, I think he's going to start to be a bit more competitive. And honestly, I think by Watkins Glen, that's going to be my prediction right now, is Watkins Glen is where Connor Zilisch is going to get his first Cup win. Of course, we should probably mention Carson Hocevar, maybe. I think he could probably find a win. I don't think he'll win more than once, but I do think Carson Hocevar, he obviously has the talent. I think if he just continues to do what he's doing, eventually something is going to work out for him, and I think he's going to find himself in victory lane. What type of track, I really don't know. Honestly, Carson Hocevar is capable of running good pretty well everywhere, so I think he is going to be a threat at some point in the season. Something's going to work out for him. He's going to find his way to victory lane. And my last prediction is Ryan Preece, I think, also might get his first win this season, maybe at a short track, specifically a Martinsville, a New Hampshire as well, those types of tracks. I think specifically, if I had to guess, I'm going to go with New Hampshire. I think Ryan Preece had a really very competitive season with RFK in that number 60 car. I was very impressed. That was a driver personally that I've doubted a lot in the Cup Series, and he proved me wrong a lot in the 2025 season. So I think Ryan Preece, New Hampshire, write it down right now. Of course, he's got a great resume at that track, but I think Ryan Preece is going to find himself in victory lane this season. Let's talk about teams now, and I want to talk about, of course, the best teams and maybe a team that I think is going to flop this season as a whole. Now, best team, I think it's obvious. I don't think nothing really is going to change, and I've got Hendrick Motorsports, shocker, as well as Joe Gibbs Racing, the two teams that are always the best in the Cup Series. I think those are the teams you're going to have to watch out for. I think they're going to have very successful seasons in 2026. Let's not forget Chevrolet has got a new body of car. They've done a lot of kind of little things to their body that I think are going to make a big difference in their speed this season. And I think Chevrolet, on top of Hendrick Motorsports, I think Chevrolet is going to once again be the most winningest manufacturer this season. I personally don't think this is going to be like when Chevrolet went to the Camaro in 2018 and they really struggled for a while. No, I think they're going to come out of the gate hot with this new body. It's not crazy different. It's still a Camaro. I think they're going to come out of the gate hot, and they're going to be winning races very early on in the season. And yeah, I think they're in a very successful position. We've also seen other teams switch over to Chevrolet, including Rick Ware Racing, for example. So I think a lot of teams are going to be really happy if they're in the Chevrolet camp in 2026. I'm in the middle of this recording. My stomach is not happy. I will be right back. I went to the bathroom. I feel way better, and now my mind is clear, so I can clearly think about who's going to win the most races in 2026. And I would usually say Kyle Larson, and I think Kyle Larson's going to win the second most races this year behind one guy, Chase Briscoe. I think Chase Briscoe, about halfway through 2025, I mean, they really hit their strides with him, James Small, and that 19 team, and of course, he went on one heck of a run, 3 race wins, made it to the Final Four, including that Southern 500 win, of course, at Darlington, a Talladega win, of course, which, I mean, things just kind of worked out for him in that one, but I think that they are in position now. Chase Briscoe, in my opinion, is going to enter superstar status in 2026. He is a super talented driver, and obviously, I mean, he proved that at Stewart-Haas when they were at one of their lowest points. He was still going out there and winning the Southern 500, let's not forget. So Chase Briscoe, I think, is going to be in position to win 5-6 races this year, and I think he's going to win more than anybody. And yeah, I mean, get ready, because, I mean, of course, we went through the years where that 19 car was dominant with Martin Truex Jr. behind the wheel in the late 2010s, and I think we're about to enter another era of that 19 car, maybe hitting dominant status at some points, and I think Chase Briscoe is in for a very favorable season, and he's one of my drivers I have in the mix for winning the championship, but he is not my champion pick, might I mention. My biggest flop team is going to be Team Penske. I think outside of an exception of Ryan Blaney, I think Joey Logano and Austin Cindric are going to overall bring the team down quite a bit, and I think they're going to be in for a bit of a rough season. I think Penske has really favored themselves and benefited off of the playoff format, of course, especially since next gen came into effect, and I think that they are going to be in for a very rough season overall with two of their drivers. I think Joey Logano will be in the playoffs, or in the chase, sorry. I think he'll make the top 12, top 13 positions, but I think he's going to maybe be, at most 1 or 2 wins on the season, and I think he's going to be a very early kind of exit of competition in the chase. Austin Cindric, I think, is going to be on the bubble. Personally, now you're bringing in, I think, SVG, who's going to be right up there in the chase battle. I think you're going to be even, you never know. Connor Zilisch could surprise us all. I don't think you will, but you never know, like I said, and I think as well, Austin Cindric's going to be right in that bubble battle with the guys like Austin Dillon, and I think we're going to see, honestly, personally, I think Cindric's going to be one of the first or 2 guys out of the chase. But like I said, with the exception, I think Ryan Blaney is actually going to run really well, as he always does. He's kind of elevated Penske, and if it wasn't for the playoff format, outside of Ryan Blaney, Penske would be pretty irrelevant over the last couple of years, and I think that's something we're really going to see highlighted now that they don't have this playoff format to kind of fall back on. Now, for my final prediction of the season, I want to do the champion. Who's going to win the championship? Of course, new format, chase format. You got 26 regular season races, top 16 points make the chase, and then they, of course, race it out over those 10 races to become champion. Now, what's it going to take to be champion? Well, it kind of brings 2 things together. Winning races gives you an additional 15 extra points compared to what we used to have, where the winner would score 40. Now they score 55. So you're scoring, 20 more points than P2 by winning a race. That is a big advantage. Winning a race is going to be very beneficial to your season. Winning several races is going to be hugely beneficial. But on top of that, with this chase format, not only do you really need to focus on winning, but you also got to run consistent over those first 26 races to better your position for the chase. In those final 10 races, you got to as well keep running consistent if you're going to get the championship. And there's one driver that stands out to me that I think is going to be above everybody else. Now, a few drivers that came to my mind originally were Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell. Those names right there all kind of came to my mind as drivers that should meet those categories. But there's one driver above all else, and I think it's the number 12 of Ryan Blaney. He consistently has been the most consistent driver. He had a lot of bad luck in the first part of 2025. He had so many DNFs, and he nearly still came back, by the way, and won the regular season championship. He was that strong. When that 12 team gets rolling, they are unbelievable. Ryan Blaney, by far the best at making a long run speed work for him, and I think that something just about that team really stands out above everybody else going into 2026. I think this is the format where Ryan Blaney can really take advantage of those 10 races, especially in the chase, to just keep clicking off really good finishes, and he's got some great tracks in there that he's been successful at. Of course, Talladega, he's had a lot of success there. The 1.5 miles, he's always really good. Homestead Miami, the season finale, he is always really competitive there as well. So as long as he doesn't maybe choke a win away again like he did to Tyler Reddick a couple years ago, that was rough for him. But I think Ryan Blaney is, at the end of the day, going to become your 2026 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Let me know if you guys agreed with my predictions here today. Of course, I'm sure there's some you're going to think are terrible and some you probably agree with, and I want to hear the discussion down below in the comments. We'll come back to this video later at the end of the season and see what I was right about, what I was wrong about, and I'm looking forward to that. You guys seem to really be supporting this style of video for whatever reason, and they've been performing actually better than what my channel is known for, the NASCAR career modes on the video games. So I want to thank you guys sincerely for that as well. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much again for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.